Okay, got it.
Okay,
I'll
looking
make
for a
the
motion to come out of executive session. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mike, Labor, you want to give a synopsis? Mike,
Well,
Labor, you
I
there?
gotta unmute you, Mike, 1 second. He disappeared.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah,
there you
go
go.
ahead.
All right. We emerged from executive session at 7:55 p.m. where we discussed affordable housing and potential litigation. No official action was taken. Copies of these minutes will be available at such time as the committee determines there is no harm to the public interest.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion to authorize the eminent domain attorney to take action as discussed in executive session. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Anybody have any questions, comments? Can't roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Okay. Looking for a motion to authorize Attorney John Drill to take action as discussed in executive session. Anybody want to make that motion?
Is this regarding the
Planner?
planner? Okay. I'll make the motion.
Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the June 18th meeting. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Anybody have any comments, corrections? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Looking for a motion to accept the treasurer's report for the July bill list. Anybody want to make that motion? I'll make the motion to accept. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions or comments on it?
I do, Bob.
Okay.
First question, I see on purchase order 0049 to Toshiba, we have late charges and a property damage surcharge. Lisa, do we know what that's all about?
I do not.
I mean, it's written down on the PO. There are several property damage surcharges and several late charges all attached to that one PO. So I'd certainly like to find out what that's all about. It wasn't a significant amount of money, but I'm curious and concerned. And the other thing I noticed, Lisa, on your petty cash and everything else like that,
Uh-huh.
6.3, the fruit and vegetable platter.
Yeah, we had purchased like $20 fruit platters for each of our polling districts for elections.
Got it. Okay. I just saw that there. I was something that I don't normally see crop up.
And
Well,
actually, I think that was last year.
Well, Paul, I authorized that too. We did it the other year for them.
Yeah, no,
too.
that's all. I just happened to see that the other day when I was going through the POs. That's
Okay,
fine.
I just wanted to make sure you don't think they were buying it without asking somebody. Okay. Okay, so do you want to pull that one, Bill? Is that you?
I'm happy to contact Toshiba and ask about that. I'm not aware of anything. I don't know if Chief Hummer is on, if there was anything that happened with the one in, in the police department, or if Joe is on.
Well, I'm concerned about pulling it because it's only going to incur more late charges.
Yeah.
So I think we should pay it,
Oh, for the
but
question.
find out and at best get a credit back if there's something wrong.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, so I guess we could do roll call for the approval of it then.
okay. Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Mrs. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Do you want to make a motion to accept the tax collector's tax and sewer reports?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Anybody have questions or comments on it? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Next is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want pulled? 4A, the police department report, 4B, the Department of Public Works report, 4C, the township clerk's report. Does anybody need anything pulled on any of those items?
No.
Okay, with that, then I'm looking for a motion to accept the police department report, DPW report, and the township clerk's report for June and July. July for the clerk. Anybody want to make, I'll make the motion, we accept it. Anybody else want a second?
I'll second it.
I guess no questions or comments because I asked before. Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Is John Mooney on for the audit? Did we need him for anything or we?
He didn't feel that he was needed.
Yeah, so what we're looking for is a motion for resolution 5620 to accept the 2019 audit.
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Well, did everybody get to read, his, the resolution and what he wrote are two separate things, I guess? About the things that we needed to correct.
Yes, yeah, and that's the only comment I was gonna make. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to break down here. We're gonna have to hire somebody else in the municipal building because it's really a poor checks and balance with so few employees. Not that it has to be full-time, or is it worth our while a couple times a year to pay Ms. Savocia to come in and do a review? I don't know, but.
If you're talking about the segregation of duties,
Yes.
it's very typical in small municipalities. Everybody has that same finding every year.
Yeah.
I think Karen can speak to it. It's really not considered a negative because the cost to hire somebody else to be sort of the third set of eyes on every transaction, the cost outweighs the benefit.
Forgot Karen was on. You okay with everything the way it is, Karen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that now you have an assistant CFO and CFO, you actually have added an extra body this year to that office for the segregation of duties piece, but it's something that we probably typically will still get. I mean, what auditors really want is they want almost a person in each department just taking in the cash so that they can hand it off to somebody else. And in small towns, it's just really difficult to do that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's a very, very common write-up.
Okay. Anybody else?
And the other thing I noticed is that, and again, we got tagged for not having our purchase order signed proper. Like we got tagged for it last year. We're certainly going to get tagged for it again this year. There should be several sets of eyes on it. I mean, that's why those signatures are needed.
Yeah.
I agree, and I actually have a question on that because, I mean, Brian and I are fairly new, and then with COVID, it was a little more difficult to implement some sort of process. So I've been working on a purchasing manual, and so I believe that there's 2 sets of committee members that should be signing the purchase orders. Are they the same 2 individuals, or should it be going to the liaisons? Because we'll certainly send out reminders to everybody. Maybe the weekend.
It really should be the liaison to that department, and then I guess I have to sign them all, but.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna make sure that we send out reminders ahead of time so that those purchase orders are all checked.
Right. Now, with that being said, Karen, and although Brian seemed to take a little bit of step back a little bit, yesterday was the first time that I found the POs on the Adeus to look at. If you're coming in Monday night or Tuesday afternoon to get our book, if the POs are there. I mean, I personally always used to review them before the township meeting. I come in an hour early, but they hadn't been there. Now, they were there yesterday, and I spent literally an hour, putting my John Hancock to what was there. But that's the first time I've seen POs since COVID.
Okay. Anybody else? I guess roll call on the adoption of resolution 5620.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Now, is that group affidavit included in that resolution, or do we have to do a special motion for?
It's not, and I basically can just announce that, obviously, we're doing this meeting via Zoom, so I can't hand it around to you guys at the end, but I will put it in the mailbox. I'll put it in your mailbox, Bob, first, and then when you sign it, just pass it along. Everybody does need to sign that, and just you're certifying that you have read at a minimum the findings and determinations of the audit. And then I execute that and we get it off to the DCA.
Okay, looking for the consent agenda for resolution 5720, which is a safe and secure grant. Resolution 5820 is a state body armor grant. Resolution 5920 is a 2020 Clean Communities grant. Anyone make a motion to adopt those resolutions?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Anybody have any questions or comments on it? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance number 108, 2020, the 2020 salary ordinance. Anybody want to make the motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
I'll
second.
second it. Frank, I guess you're going to have to let, if anybody's there who wants to get on, ask any questions about the salary ordinance for
Yeah,
public.
just gotta take the vote first. You made the motion and was second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, Lisa.
Do you want to all in favor for that one, Bob, to open, or?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
aye.
Ayes have it.
Anybody opposed? No? All right. I'm unmuting everybody.
Questions?
It's a little delayed. There you go.
Will and Doris are only guests tonight?
No, Victor's here.
Okay.
Hi,
I have
Vic.
no questions about the salary ordinance.
Okay. Go ahead. You there, Bill?
Yeah, we have no questions.
Oh, no
Oh, I-
questions.
Oh, I thought you said you have a question.
Oh,
Okay, thanks. Okay,
What about
anybody
Vicky?
else?
Vicky, you all right?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 108, 2020 for salary ordinance. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Looking for a motion to adopt resolution 60-20, to adopt the 2020 salary resolution. Anybody want to make the motion?
Sorry, Bob, we
to,
actually needed a motion to adopt 108 first.
Didn't I do that? Okay, I'm done.
Sorry,
Okay.
we
Looking
closed.
for a motion to adopt 108, 2020, the 2020 salary ordinance. Anybody want to make a motion to adopt it?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 6020, the 2020 salary resolution. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the
I'll make-
motion.
Motion. You want to second it, Lillian?
I'll second it.
Okay, anybody have questions or comments on it? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes. Actually, Bob,
Okay.
well, Karen's here. I should have said this before, but I just want to clarify for record on the police, the increases, those are 2 years worth, right, Karen?
Yes, that's why the percentages look high.
All right. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Looking for a motion to introduce ordinance number 109, 2020, to purchase a backhoe appropriation of $108,000 from the capital improvement fund. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Anybody have questions or comments on it? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Looking for a motion to introduce ordinance number 110, 2020, a special emergency appropriation amount of $50,000 for the preparation of tax maps. Anybody make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second? The two guys from the land use board, you don't want to do this or what? You
No,
don't
I'll
think
second. I'll second.
Okay. Questions or comments or discussion?
Yeah, again, Karen, so we spent money on this last year already, right? I think it was maybe somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000, right? I think it was mostly your stuff, Mike.
Yeah.
So when we can still do this as an emergency, I know it's called an emergency appropriation. That's just the way the state makes us designate it. It's not really an emergency, but so is this 50,000 inclusive of what we've spent now from last year, or is this?
No, no. So what this does is this pushes what we can spend this year, where we don't have to necessarily raise it until next year's budget. And then the 50,000 is spread out over 5 years for us to pay back.
Over the next
5 to 7,000 wasn't necessarily taken into account, but you can cancel it at the end of it. So it's fine. And I did check with John Mooney to make sure that, because we had already started the project, is it okay? And he said, absolutely. So.
All right. So depending on how this goes, like if it was 50,000 in total, the amount we spent last year, you're saying we can reverse that out?
Yeah. So, and you could actually almost do the whole project this year if you wanted to. You could spend the $50,000 this year. We just don't have to raise it. And we don't have to start raising it until next year over the next 5 years. So between 2021 through 25 or 26.
But it's not that it's not 50,000 plus what we spent last year. It's 50,000 total.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to be clear on.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perone?
Yes.
Looking for a motion to introduce ordinance number 111, 2020, an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 7-15 entitled motorized vehicles. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'm sorry, where's that on the, what letter are you on?
5I.
5I.
That's the one you asked for last month, isn't it? Of a motorized vehicle?
Yeah, I was hoping Mike could give a little,
Yeah, well, I was going to ask him after we made the motion, but make the motion. I'll second it. Then we'll have Mike explain what it is.
all right, I'll make the motion. Well,
I'll
you know
second.
what? All right, go ahead.
I'll second it. Mike, you want to explain what we changed there?
Sure. There were some complaints about people operating motorized vehicles, specifically ATVs in township-owned detention basins. So what this ordinance would do is prohibit motorized vehicles from being operated on township property.
So one question on that, Mike. Does it matter the type of motor? Like, what's
No.
considered a motor? Anything that propels
Correct.
a vehicle is
There's a
considered a motor.
definition. Yeah, there's a definition that includes every, basically electric, whatever. So
Okay.
any motorized vehicle, and that encompasses ATVs, go-karts, mini bikes, whatever. You can't
Now,
operate.
and you expanded it to not only include like open detention basins. It's like
Township
what
property.
properties, what type of properties that the township owns does it cover?
Everything the township owns.
Everything. So, for instance, so I know Bob, you brought this up. That's the reason I was asking. It would prohibit motorized vehicles on the walking path.
Yes.
in
Any
township-
township-owned property, you're not allowed to operate motorized vehicles.
Okay.
I mean, we put in there, just so people understood that the reason this came about was because the township committee received complaints specifically about detention basins, but it's not limited to that. It's limited, covers every piece of township-owned property.
All right, and again, if I can add something too, because it's kind of part of 5R down here. The farmer who has the land lease on the retention ponds for the hay, and he's been kind of okay about it, but it got to a breaking point. there's a resident who's using it as an access to his back property. Pickup truck, trailers, heavy equipment, cement mixer, da 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 da. He's compressing the area with a motorized vehicle, and things kind of came to a halt about 10 days ago, and that farmer complained to me. Now, I was going to pass that complaint on to Frank or Brad tonight because you guys are the open space, and I don't know if those detention ponds fall into that. But he's got an issue with it, and that actually just kind of cleared that issue up, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so that problem's kind of solved. All right, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Mike?
I just, one question, Mike, the penalties is in line with what's typical for these type of ordinance?
Yes, I mean, we didn't include jail time. It's the fines are all within like a disorderly persons offense. So we could add additional penalties. You could add like community service, jail, stuff like that. We didn't do that. It's just fines.
No, I was just the minimum fine. I just,
Yeah.
at first struck me kind of high, but if they're within the ranges, it's fine.
Anybody else?
And that final fine, just every time they break the law, they just keep getting that final $3,000 fine. You can just keep.
Yes.
fining?
Now,
Okay.
also, the police have discretion. Like if somebody went out and said, hey, you were violating this ordinance, you know, they could give them a warning and say, if you do it again, we're going to fine you. But
Right,
at
right.
least you've got that. And look, the whole purpose is that it be a deterrent. So, I mean, if somebody did it by accident, they weren't a repeat offender,
Right, right.
so to speak, you know, there's some discretion there.
Yep. Okay.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
McDermott?
yes,
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Looking for a motion to introduce ordinance number 112, 2020, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 3-2.4 regarding noise. Anybody want to make the motion? Introduce it?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Anybody have questions, comments, or
Yeah.
whatever? Mike, you want to explain a little bit about it?
Sure. What we have on the books now is like a one sentence in the code book, which doesn't look great as far as enforcement goes. This ordinance, and Rich Winter and I talked about it because he covered the last meeting, there's a state standard for decibels. The problem with that is it's got to be measured from the property line. So number one, you have to have somebody, I don't know if the police department has a decibel meter. It's usually the Board of Health that has those. And most noise complaints you get are after 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So the problem is you're not going to get the County Board of Health because they've all gone home for the day. So you have problems getting the decibel reader. Even if you have one, you have to show that you measured it from the property line. So unless you have a surveyor on staff that's going to go out there, survey it and say, yeah, he was on this side of the property line. And so the decibel levels that the state NJDEP puts out there are very difficult to enforce. This ordinance was upheld by the appellate division. Now, I will tell you, historically, towns had these noise ordinances that said if it was a nuisance, so it didn't have to be for a particular period of time. If it just was annoying to the person hearing the noise, they could file a complaint. Years ago, those were found to be unenforceable. However, over about 10 years ago, the appellate division held that if you use the language, and the language that I've used in this ordinance is exactly out of that case, it says they will enforce it as a nuisance violation. So you don't have to get a decibel meter. If the person that hears it, the neighbor, whoever it is, finds it to be annoying, the police are able to file a complaint on that and they can get a conviction. And like I said, the language that's in there, even though you go, geez, this looks a lot like ordinances we used to have 20 years ago that the courts had said that were unenforceable, this is enforceable and the courts will enforce it.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody have any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
yes,
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
For this Chapman wastewater system contract, if we do the resolution, does that cover the award of the contract? Do we have to award the contract and then do the resolution?
Yeah, I just had it as a placeholder as the award, so it could be discussed, but the resolution was prepared and forwarded this afternoon. So
All we need to do is approve the resolution, correct?
yes, 61.
I'm looking for a motion to adopt Resolution 61-2020, awarding the Chapman, the operation and maintenance of the wastewater system pumping station. Anybody want to make a motion to adopt Resolution 61-2020? I'll make that motion. Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
It was the only company that bid, so I guess there's really nothing to discuss, and we have to have somebody taking care of it. So anybody have any comments?
Do you want a 15-second summary, Bob, or no?
7 seconds.
Okay.
You're 15.
Got one bid, as Bob said, Chapman, who we've used for years. Their prices rose just a nominal 4% over what they've bid. They've been good to work with, and Dan Madden, Brent Carney, and myself reviewed the contract and the bid and found it acceptable and are making that recommendation.
Thanks, Mike. I told you it'd be 15 seconds.
That was more than 7 seconds, sorry.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Ms. McDermott?
yes,
Mr. Crone?
Yes.
Max Span auction, approval of the proposed contracts. Brad, do you want to explain anything on that? Talk about?
Just a quick summary. I think everybody got the email directly from Max, or Lisa sent it to us. So the first with the school, I think there was a total of, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it was 6 bids, and high bidder was $75,000. And on the house of Washington Street, I believe there were 3 bids, and the high bidder was $25,000. If I got that right, hopefully it's right.
Mhm.
The amounts are right. I just don't remember exactly how many bids came in. But so we are approving the bids. The language in there states that, you know, whatever they're intending to do and renovating it has to be in accordance with the, you know, the zoning on that property. So
Okay, so you're making a motion for the approval of the proposed contracts for $75,000 and $25,000 respectively, correct?
respectively, yeah, to the high bidder that was communicated from Max Span.
I'll second that. Anybody else have any questions, comments, discussion?
No.
Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes,
McDermott?
yes.
And Mr. Prone?
Yes. Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Recycling quote.
I think we need to maybe unmute Joe Mexi for this, possibly.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that. You on there, Joe?
I'm trying to unmute him now. Sometimes there's a delay, but I unmuted him. There you go. He's unmuted.
Yes. I'm here.
Okay. Joe, the recycling service quote, what do you want to talk about that? Explain anything, or what are you asking for?
All right. Well, what happened here, we run a monthly recycling center for those who don't have a garbage outfit. It's about 6 to 8 people. Last month, when the guys took our recycling up to the PCFA in Oxford, we were told that they will no longer take municipal recycling up there. So along with from our municipal building, all our parks, we'd collect the recyclables. We'd put them in the shed, and once a month after the monthly drop off, we would take them up to the county. So I didn't get to talk to anybody up there. My guys relayed that to us. I got the quote from our garbage collector, who we got a contract with, to put a container at our building for our recycling that we accumulate. The only question is to use, what do we do with them 6, 8 residents? It's been a long time since recycling's been going on. Do they get their own from here, or they can take it up to the PCFA as a resident of the county on
Right.
their own?
My opinion is they should take it up there on their own, or hire their own like everybody else. I mean, I don't think we should incur any expenses to cover somebody else's recycling, but that's my opinion.
I agree.
I got a question, Mike Lavery. Can the county not accept recycling from the municipality?
That would depend on what they have to file a plan with the DEP, so I'm not sure what that says. So I don't know the answer to that. I could check.
I'm gonna guess the thought process is that we're taking it from residents for free. They're allowing us to give it to them for free. Whereas I think when you hire someone to take your garbage and your recycling is included, there's some fees paid by the garbage companies. So it's really a way to avoid the fees to the landfill, the recycling, I guess. That's the only thing I can assume.
I believe the recycling is starting to cost money.
Yes.
They're not making money on it. It's starting to cost everybody, even them getting rid of the recycling up there. It's starting to incur fees to them before they were making money on it.
Yes.
No, I understand there's probably a cost and, but if the county has an operation that's open to residents of the county, are they allowed to discriminate against the municipality? I just don't think that that's legal, in my opinion. I don't see how they could say, oh, you're a municipality, you can't drop off your recycling here.
You mean just our municipal, not residents, just our municipal?
Isn't that what you said, that they wouldn't accept our municipal recycling?
Only the township, not the municipality, the municipal recycling. Yes.
No, I'm talking about the township.
No, residents of the township can go there.
Right.
We can't, the town itself.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm saying is, can they tell us as a town, we can't go there? They've accepted it all these years, and now they're saying no? Based on what changed?
I guess the fees, so they're probably gonna, if either they could charge us, I don't know.
That's my point is.
It's an authority, it's not really the county, it's an authority, so I guess that's the
So
first.
can they, my question is, can they do that? And that's my question to Mike.
Yeah.
Well,
arbitrarily change that?
Unfortunately, I know a little more about this than I care to admit, but the county, I don't know the deal with recycling, but I do know that municipal waste, they stopped taking it up there when the incinerator closed, and they have a plan on file with the DEP that says they will take that. And the problem that they've had is there was an exclusive contract, at least with garbage. I'm not sure about recyclables, with the PCFA. And then the PCFA was prohibiting haulers from taking municipal waste directly to the landfill because they had even though they've shut down, they had the exclusive. So I'm not sure the impact of that. So there's been some violation of that plan. I don't know if that includes recycling, but I can certainly check and find out for the next meeting.
Again, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but it just seems like they've been doing it. They've been accepting the town's municipal recycling from our parks and stuff like that. And then to just come out of the blue and say, we're not taking it anymore, if that's not part of what their agreement was.
Yeah, and I do know that the county wanted to take, and I forget, there's a name for it, type something municipal waste. They haven't been able to take it at the landfill, even though they wanted to, because the PCFA, because Covanta had said they would sue them if they allowed it because they had an exclusive. So there's some litigation. In any event, let me check and I'll get back to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
But so temporarily, Joe, I guess the best thing to do is to tell those residents that we can't accept it at this particular time, that there's been a change, and they should maybe periodically look at the website, and that's where we'll put up if something changes.
Well, they can
I
take it to.
don't think temporarily, I think they should hire some of them themselves or bring it themselves. The rest of us pay for it. They should pay for theirs.
Are all these people, if you're saying there's only 6 or 8 of them, are they all in the same, is this a geographic thing, or are they all spread all over the township? The ones that
I don't
have
know.
recycling.
I don't have their address, so I could not tell you. They just show up, and we don't ask for identification or their address. It was just it was a drop-off center.
Okay.
Well, one, we just can't take it anymore. I mean, so.
Right.
What happens? If they call and ask, Lisa, just explain to them that the county won't take it anymore. We don't have any way to get rid of it, so but they can take it up on their own.
They could just throw it in their garbage.
Right.
I don't think they're paying for their garbage. That's what the problem is. Otherwise, they'd have recyclable with their garbage pickup.
How do they get rid of their garbage?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That
Well,
is a
that's
good
what I was thinking. If they're driving the garbage up to the
I think it'll work with-
landfill, they can drop their recyclables.
Yeah. Okay. Joe, you stay on the recycling shed. Pretty much your email, you said it's shot. So should we just get rid of it?
I don't know. The walls are rotten down by the bottom by the floor and stuff. So it's had a roof on it twice. So it's been around
Crush it up, throw it in a
20
truck, and
years.
put it in the landfill.
Sounds like, Joe, it sounds like it could be a fire training exercise.
I'd love to do that, but it's against the law.
Oh,
Oh, well.
I still have a dumpster up there left over from cleanup.
Put it in there and have them pick it up. Take it away.
I can crush it up and put it in there if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's no good. Why mess with it? Let's just get rid of it.
We're gonna have to get a new one then. Do you need to get the new one first before you destroy the old one? Or we're just doing away with it?
Yeah, we're just kind of doing away with it for right now, Brad, because, we got to backtrack a little bit about this recycling container down at the municipal building. But for the time being, we're doing it around. And if we had to buy another one, the Clean Communities Fund would be able to buy another shed if we find another location in a reasonable situation.
okay.
So we in agreement that Joe should just collapse it and throw it out?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't think we need a motion on that, right? So just do it, Joe.
All right. And then, hey, Joe, do you have a copy of the recycling agreement, the container in front of you?
No, no, I don't. I'm sorry.
I got to tell, I don't know if somebody else, the versions that I've got here, there's two different ones. Even with glasses, the writing on it is so small, I can't read a single monetary number here.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know which agreement is better or worse. Somebody else has got better eyes than I have. Somebody looked at this for Republic, which one we should temporarily do for our municipal recycling?
Which document is that, Paul?
In the packet, there was a customer service agreement with Republic Services. There are two quotes for a recycling container that we
Yeah,
municipal building for the town's use.
I only have the electric reports. I don't have, if it's not part of the packet, then I don't have.
They were at the very back.
Yeah.
I think the gist of it looks like the monthly service charge, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, looks like $345.68.
Well, there should be a couple different setups. What I asked them for was 2 different size containers, a 6 cubic yard or an 8. And I also asked for a quote for a bi-weekly pickup once every 2 weeks or every week because of what we get accumulated wise. I think the every other week, and we could probably get away with what we get in the municipality, a 6 cubic yard dumpster.
Yeah, I think what they're charging is an extra $151.32 if you do the extra pickup, if that's what it appears.
Correct.
Joe, what's the size of the one at Town Hall right now?
That garbage dumpster is an 8 cubic yard.
Oh, okay. All right.
How often is that one picked up?
That's picked up every week. That's garbage, just regular garbage.
Joe, do you got room next to that one for the recycling? Kinda?
I'm gonna have to finagle some space there.
All right, but it can be done?
Yeah, we'll figure something
All
out.
right, so I guess we should be going then with the 6 cubic yard one bi-weekly, right? That's your suggestion?
Yeah, I think that will suffice our needs.
All right, so I would like to make a motion to accept Republic's service agreement for 6 yards for bi-weekly.
I'll second. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Any
No.
further discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron.
Yes.
Mayor, do you authorize me to sign that deal, a contract, and get it back to him?
Yes.
Okay.
And Joe, if something changes 3, 4, 6 months down the road, we could end that prematurely. We're not bound to a year or 2 years or anything with it, right?
No, there was nothing in there that I will
That's
look
why I
that
didn't think
over
so.
if I see
Okay.
something.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
Well, now that the discussion's over, I did find the two quotes. What we're talking about. Okay. The contract for the removal of deer for $31 deer per deer payable monthly. Is that the only bid we got? Did we actually solicit bids, or I don't think we actually have to solicit, right? It's not that much money. Is
No,
it?
we did not solicit. That just showed up, and then I inquired as to who we normally use, and apparently we did not have a contract. So it's on the agenda if you guys.
Anybody have any idea how many a year we need picked up? I mean, what's our cost going to be? I mean, who's been picking them up? Have we just been letting them ride along the road? I mean,
Well, if it's on the county road, the county deals with it.
the
Yeah.
state roads, DOT, I guess, picks them up.
Right. Right. And sometimes they don't really get picked up, but that's ideally the thing. I mean, Joe, I mean, how many dead deer do you suppose we've had on township roads?
Probably 3, 4.
Per year?
Yeah.
What do you do with them now, Joe, or shouldn't I ask?
Prefer not to ask. But also just to cover that, they are also on the Morris County Co-op, Space Farm is. I did look at that when I did see it. So they did do a cooperative purchase, which we're a member of.
Do you think we need the service, or we handle it okay on our own?
I'll probably say this, and we'll have 10 this month. But
Yeah.
I think we're pretty good on our own.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action on it right now, right? They're on the contract. If it becomes an issue, we can just sign it then.
Right.
Okay. Park use forms. You want to talk about that? Brad? Lisa? Frank?
Lisa, you wanna explain that one?
So the issue has come up. We have the new park use forms, which Open Space, I think, developed over a year ago. We actually adopted their use in November. And there's it's been a little bit problematic. One of the issues is that the old pavilion rental form had an option as to whether or not you plan to have alcohol, and you were charged more accordingly if you did. The new forms indicated that the only way you could have alcohol is if you got a permit from the chief of police. If we want the chief to approve it, we need some guidance and some guidelines set up as to what that approval would entail, what information we need from the applicant, and what exactly it is that the police department is supposed to be reviewing.
I think our only discussion on alcohol is whether we allow it or not. I don't think we should get involved in anything else. As a person bringing it doesn't need a permit. Either we're going to allow alcohol or not. I don't think we need to do background checks. I don't think we can do background
Right.
checks on.
Right, because it becomes problematic as to how many people are you
So
checking,
the question,
you know?
so the two questions is, one, our first question is, do we want to allow alcohol, yes or no? And secondly, what are the fees going to be? So anybody have any input on whether we should or should not allow alcohol?
My question is, how does it affect Community Day if we didn't allow it? What would be the effect? Would we still be able to have?
I would say yes. I mean, we write the rules. I mean, you can make exceptions for something like that as a township function or whatever.
Well, if that's the case, me personally, I would not allow it.
And actually, they sell it, so they have to get a state alcohol license.
Correct. That goes to ABC.
It actually files and gets a temporary alcohol license from ABC.
Right, but if we prohibited all sale of alcohol.
Not sale, use. Somebody rents the pavilion, you're gonna let them bring a cooler full of beer or not? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I would be against it, but that's.
I don't have a problem with it, but that's all right. That's the decision we gotta make. Anybody else have any input?
Yeah, but if we allow people to rent the pavilion and bring alcohol, my question is, I thought we needed them to fill out a permit. So you're saying they don't need to fill out a permit?
Because they're not selling it, they're just bringing alcohol and consuming it. They're bringing their own alcohol.
There's never been a permit for it, Brad,
Yeah.
to your point. There's
Okay.
never been one.
So then if we allow it, then the only additional, we would just charge an additional fee for them on the rental application.
At more if you're gonna have alcohol than if you're not.
Yes.
Then you're gonna get into enforcement issues, because then you're gonna have the police go up and you're gonna have them actually check and say, let me see your permit, whether you can have alcohol or not have alcohol.
It would be on their rental, they would be on their permit application if it was checked off and they paid it.
Yeah, I understand that.
You're gonna have an enforcement issue no matter if you allow it or not.
Lisa, what did we do? My daughter got married at the downtown park, and we had alcohol there. And I know my wife and the daughter took care of that. Walk us through the process.
So the old application was quite simply, I think for residents, it was $25 to rent that pavilion and $50 if you rented that pavilion and we're gonna have alcohol. All you
And
did
there
was
was no-
check the box and pay the fee.
Right, and the PD didn't have to check on anything. That was it. Okay.
No, that's what came up with the new forms. It was,
So-
requiring this permit.
So do we allow alcohol anywhere else in the park? It's only limited to under the pavilion? Is that how it would work?
Correct, it would be for the pavilion.
Only if you rent the pavilion.
Yeah,
So if you rent the pavilion, you're allowed to, this is what we're contemplating, allowing alcohol, but only within the boundaries of the pavilion.
Well,
Correct.
if you have the rental of the pavilion, you can bring alcohol there.
Yeah, and I would think that you got a little space outside of that pavilion.
Well,
I mean, you can't be wandering all around Thomas Stewart Park with a beer.
Right, what I think we need to do is we need to define that though.
No, right, exactly.
We need to define where you're allowed to have it and where you're not allowed to have it.
It's meant for the pavilion.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it shouldn't leave the pavilion.
It says 40 by 80 pavilion with lights and electric. It says the Thomas Stewart Park. If you look at the application, so it's kind of indicating the pavilion. Right,
No,
Lisa?
I just want to make sure they're not allowed to have it in the pavilion and then take it out and
Well,
walk.
let's just use the downtown park, and I'm going to use my daughter's wedding as an example. There was no way we were going to be able to put the caterers and all the bar that was associated with it under the pavilion with the tables and have someplace to eat. The bar was set out by the creek with some trash cans and stuff. There were too many people that there wasn't enough space for everybody to congregate underneath of the little pavilion. Now, obviously, Thomas Stewart Park's much larger size, but you still got to depend on the party size. So I don't know if you can limit it to under the roof's edge and cover all three pavilions that the town has. Because we do have three. We have one at Thomas Stewart, we have the one behind the municipal building, and there's one at Stecker Field. Now, I've never heard of anybody renting the one at Stecker Field, but
I mean, I just don't want anybody walking around the park with alcohol.
no, well, that's what I'm saying. And I agree with you there, but we'd have to come up with a limited space and not the whole park, right?
Right. That's my concern.
Which I think that would be for open space to determine. I mean,
Not
well,
necessarily, we could.
no, I guess that would be us. No, that's us, right?
Where do you stand, Bob?
I say I'm okay with having it and just limit it to the pavilion period, just leave it at that.
Okay.
I mean, I read between the lines, if somebody sets up a folding chair 2 feet outside and they're sitting there, who's gonna say anything? But if they do, the police come, they just have to say, I'm sorry, but you have to get up on the concrete.
Right. Okay. I'm
Good.
good with that.
I think there's also, we got to talk about the rental fees, right, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, we should try to finalize this because we have a lot of people wanting
You
to
have
rent.
any ideas? What do they charge other places? I don't even know. Do you have any ideas, Brad?
We established rental fees in the open space ordinance, which we passed. The thing is, we didn't vary the rental fee by pavilion. So that was an oversight on our part. So
Right.
the ordinance, it just says $150 for rental of the pavilion. That was really intended for the new one at Thomas Stewart Park because of the size.
Right.
The one at the municipal park is much smaller. The one at Stecker's even smaller. So I Lisa, what did you come up with the rates to?
So the original rental fees were very low. It was 25 resident without alcohol and 50 if you did have alcohol. So I changed this. I adjust this to be 50 and 100, and then for a non-resident or business without alcohol would be 100, and
That's
then
for which
with
one?
alcohol would be 150.
What's the justification for charging more because they're having alcohol versus not, if we're not doing anything else? The only thing I would say, and
That's what was existing, Mike. I don't know what the rest.
yeah, no, because my point is, if you're going to allow alcohol there, then you should at least have them, whoever is sponsoring it, have in the application that they're going to give you a certificate of insurance. Because here's the problem. If you're going to license them and then something happens, whatever you've done isn't going to be enough. So you'll still get sued. So I think you ought to get some type of proof of insurance if they're going to have alcohol there, so that we have some type of indemnification.
It's easier just to prohibit it.
There is a hold harmless and an indemnification agreement that's always been used, and that same indemnification agreement was included with the new forms. And essentially it says that they acknowledge that the township may not have insurance coverage for any injuries of person or property of the applicant. And furthermore, it states parties which basically which shall be sustained because of alcoholic beverages. It further suggests and recommends that they get insurance, but it does not require it.
The problem with indemnification is if somebody ever had drank too much and there was an accident, and I hate to go through the parade of horribles, but they're going to say, well, they got a permit from the town, so we're going to get sued because we're the deep pockets and we do have some tort immunity. But the fact of the matter is you don't want to be placed in that position. So I would think they should at least get a certificate of insurance. So, because indemnification is only as good as the person that's giving you the indemnification. And they're still going to name the township, because if that's where they're going to allege the alcohol was consumed. And again, since we're giving a permit, the obvious question is, all right, well, you gave a permit, you charge more for, you can have liquor there. Why did you do that? We would expect that you were doing some type of vetting. And I agree with the mayor. You can't vet like anybody that's going to have any type of event there, but at a minimum, I would say there should be a certificate of insurance and still keep the indemnification agreement. But I don't think that that's going to protect us as much as a certificate of insurance if you're going to serve
We
alcohol.
need a sort of insurance though. I mean, does it have to be 100,000, 500,000, a million, 35,000? You know what?
What happened to other, like the Lopat? Do they allow alcohol in their park?
I don't know.
No.
I believe they do.
I would just
No,
restrict it altogether. Why
I
go
go there on Wednesdays and watch there up at the military pavilion there, and I know no alcohol's ever been permitted there.
I would restrict it and not have to worry about all these.
I think when you rent their pavilion, you can, but I'm not positive on that. So, well, you want to table it for a month, or you just want to make a motion not to have it at all? It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I'm not against having it there, but if you feel it's easier just not to have the alcohol, then if people sleep, it's all on them.
I mean, I know fire departments, different places, they do require to get your own certificate of insurance. If you guys want me to look into what amounts other municipalities
All right, well,
require.
we'll never look into that. Yeah, why don't we just table it?
So for now, if we rent the pavilions, we're just not permitting alcohol, right?
Yeah, right now we'll just say no alcohol.
Okay. I'll look
Everybody
into
good with
it.
it? I don't
Yes.
wanna be-
I'm
everybody's
good
saying-
with that.
I don't hear anybody screaming at me, so I'm assuming everybody's okay with it. Okay.
Do you need official action on that, Mike?
No, because you're just keeping the policy. Well, wait, do we allow it
Right
now?
now is to allow it, so.
All right, so-
Let's not allow it until we get more information on the insurance.
Yeah, if we don't do anything, somebody could still come in and take out a permit and have alcohol there. If you don't want them to have alcohol.
I'll make a
Well,
motion. that
actually-
the pavilion rental fee stays as it is. No alcohol will be allowed until we determine how to handle the insurance issues.
I'll second it.
Any other questions or comments? Mike, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Did you want to add anything?
No, that's
Okay,
fine. Thanks, Mayor.
roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes,
Mr. Perone?
Yes.
Now, with that being said, Lisa, is anybody talking about renting it in the near future with the expectations of alcohol, or hasn't that part of the conversation come up?
The whole reason that I'm bringing this to your attention is because a lot of people are asking. We've had several people applying and wanting to do so. And, you know, we had an event last weekend, and I simply said, we don't have a mechanism in place for the chief to issue a permit, so we cannot authorize it. That's how I left it, so.
Okay.
They still rented, but presumably without alcohol.
They were planning on using alcohol?
They had wanted to, but they still chose to rent it even though we told them we
Right.
couldn't issue a permit.
Okay.
Okay. Weight limit, Hurlman Road. Who put that on?
I put it on.
Okay.
Bill Kenyak has kept me posted about, it's really some specialized traffic. There's really a repetitive offender up there.
Mhm.
And Bill's been very concerned, as with a few other residents up there, with all the new paved roads and things like that, about, which is part of my overweight truck conversation about it. But in the meantime, I'd asked Mike Finelli, because it's a town road, can we regulate the weight on it? And he said we could. So we can market no vehicles over 10 ton, and hopefully that will eliminate, other than the farm-related equipment, that should eliminate the problem that's going on up there. Correct, Mike Finelli?
That is correct, but just for everyone's information, there's a logistical difficulty relative to enforcement. And that becomes the problem. If you really want to stop somebody and try to cite them for an overweight vehicle, theoretically, if they're smart enough, there's only certain scales that are certified to confirm the overweight nature of the vehicle. And then I won't bore you with all the gory DOT details, but there's a lot of towns, and we've done it ourselves, that have put weight restrictions on roadways from just a signage, make a point, keep overweight vehicles off the road.
Well, I understand that there's the weight situation, but as I've been told by our PD, that yes, no, they can't actually write the overton one, but they can write a vehicle for not following road signage. Is Chief Hummer with us yet or not?
Yeah, I believe so.
He's on.
Is that correct, Chief, that you can write a ticket for not obeying signage?
That's what we've been doing, yes.
Yes, exactly. That's what you've been doing. So that comes with a little bit of a fine and a small slap of the wrist. But with that being said, if that's what it takes to rectify the problem, then we're good with that. I'm good with that.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's
Yeah,
the
we're
first
not.
I actually heard about that. Okay. Well then, let's do it. There you go. Okay.
All right. So Mike Lavery, then can you write that up for that, then a resolution for us to approve, assuming the rest of TC is okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
I am too.
Hey, Paul,
Yes.
we all know the individual in question. Has anybody talked to him?
I was just going to say, has anybody ever just went and talked?
Well, just for clarification, I don't know who the individual in question is.
I don't either. It says repetitive.
Well,
I'm assuming they know who it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who it is.
is it a secret? I mean,
I don't know that it's a secret, but we've tried to approach it by having Franklin Township zoning officer control it.
It's not about an individual. It's about
It's a
what we want
company.
to allow on our roads.
Well, right, exactly. It's keeping overweight vehicles off of new blacktop
Right, and I
roads.
think we should take it one step further, and we should take a look at all of our roads.
Whoa.
Take another look.
Well, that's
I'm
a
okay
whole-
with
that's
that.
another conversation coming up 2 things from now.
Yep.
Okay, so where are we at with this? We
I think
good?
everybody seems to be okay with it.
Yeah, and again, and I know the chief and I've had a conversation with it, and my initial thought process is I don't want the truck written up or the trucks written up. It can be done with a letter or whatever saying, hey, this is a restricted weight limit road now, da, 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 da. Please use alternate routes for your truck traffic. That's all. I'm not sending the police department out to start writing everybody and getting all crazy. We can communicate with a lot of the repetitive offenders in this situation, and particularly this one, and that'll come up in my next conversation. So
Okay.
I'm not sending them out there to write them all, but we have to restrict it before we can keep them off of it.
Okay, the encroachment on township-owned land, who put that on?
That's also me. That had to do with part. We solved part of the problem. We have residents that are on Adrian and Price who have encroached into the farmers' fields, and I don't know that it would have been a problem up until just recently. Because of the construction that took place back there, the pickup trucks, the heavy trailers, the heavy equipment. And basically, they've moved their lawns out into the retention pond to gain themselves bigger property. They've maintained it, they're this, they're that. And that's the encroachment issue.
Well, that's already handled in zoning, right? I mean, can't you?
Furniture and everything there, or just mowing it?
Pardon?
Are they putting like furniture and everything there, or just mowing it?
Well, they're just mowing it. I do think, without knowing where property lines are, there might have been a renovation that might have encroached very close to, if not onto TC property. But one of the gentlemen is clearly over mowing his property. And again, you know, the farmer has always had an issue with it, but before it wasn't his lease, now it is, and now it's become a bigger issue.
Is he mowing the crops? Is he mowing the crops of the farmer?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah. No, he's well into the retention pond. Yes.
It's grass, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
Well, we
Yeah. I
already
mean,
have-
you mow. If you were to mow the detention ponds, it would look like a lawn if you did it on a regular basis, because the basis is a ryegrass. So
Yeah.
he's just really expanded his lawn by, 75 feet by 100-foot long.
We're gonna send a letter to him advising him that that's their land, or what?
Well, that was the thought process here. Notifying the two homeowners and things of that nature that they've encroached too far. But then the question is, are we going to have to send the engineer out to mark it so everybody knows where it is? Because if we're going to say that, I suppose we should have marks.
Well, my guess is that if the guy was 6 inches or a foot over, no one would have complained. So if he's got to be over enough that he knows enough. So I just start with the letter first.
All right, so I will have I don't know that it's a zoning infraction, but I can have Larry take care of that.
Yeah, Bob, where do we end up on the previous topic, though? Did we approve for the weight limit on Hurlman?
Well, somebody's got to write it.
Yeah. Didn't you?
We didn't have an
Ask
official
Mike
vote
to
or anything.
write it?
It was just like a straw poll.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So
Yeah,
I
maybe.
just want to make sure that you cover it.
Yep. No. Maybe. Yeah. Let's do a quick vote on that.
All right,
Okay,
call for the motion.
looking for a motion to authorize what, the installment of the weight limit signs on Hurlman? Is that what we're looking for?
That is correct. A 10-ton weight limit.
No.
But
No.
we'd have to do an ordinance first, authorizing that and adding it to our regulation of street.
So we need a motion then to authorize Mike to create the ordinance.
That's,
it. No, we're looking for, authorization for the attorney to draft that ordinance. Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make that motion.
Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Mrs. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perone?
Yes.
Okay, encroachment on township-owned land, that's done, right? Brad?
That's done. Yep.
Okay, overweight trucks.
Well, we've discussed this before, and I'm bringing it back up only because, again, besides Bill Kenyak and several other people, we and the county's coming through and doing some serious paving on weight-restricted roads also. So the conversation's turned to trying to really enforce the weight limit signs on the roads to help prevent, deterioration of the new blacktop that we're going to end up spending millions on, be it the county or us.
Yeah.
So we need to have a conversation about controlling it. Again, I spoke to the chief. There are a lot of repetitive offenders. I think he felt a little uncomfortable because some of it's been allowed forever. I just think it needs to come to an end. And again, I'm not saying blitz these guys. You know, we reach out to the repetitive offenders and let them know that the weight limits are going to be held to. Otherwise, you can get a ticket. Now, we don't have to tell them it's only the signage ticket, that they can, in fact, get a ticket on it. I think one of the biggest problems is with Haynes and Kibblehouse Warren Material. But a lot of that can be controlled by just going down there and telling them that they have to tell the asphalt people, unless there's an actual physical job they're doing in Greenwich Township, they need to follow approved truck routes. And that's not North Main Street, it's not South Main Street, it's not Greenwich, and it's certainly not Washington Street, which is a 4-ton weight limit street. You know, basically, unless you're making a delivery, there is no reason for any 10-ton truck, except for farming, to be on the hamlet streets.
Yeah. The only problem is you can't hold Warren Paving responsible for where the trucks go once they leave their property.
No, but we could use Warren Paving to educate the truck drivers.
Yeah, but all they're gonna do is put a notice probably up on it, say, don't use the roads, and then when they leave, they're gonna do what they want. We went through this.
And that may very well be.
Tractor-trailer issue, and the police department has gone to the couple of the places where we know these trucks are going to, and they were cooperative. They said, we'll put something up, but once they leave here, we have no control over
No,
them.
and I understand that, but again, in this particular situation, we're talking about repetitive offenders. So again, we can reach out and send the 5 or 6 letters that need to be sent to, and just tell them that, you know, unless you're physically doing a job in Greenwich Township, you can't use it as a cutoff to I-78.
So who's gonna send the letter?
Well, I think that would be up to the police department. I'm sure they've got a member or two down there.
Can you get Rich on, Frank? I know he's on somewhere.
Yeah, Rich is on.
Yeah, can you open his mic so he can
It's
give an
open.
answer? Okay, Mike, Rich, you have any suggestions?
I can speak to some of the individuals. The problem is that a lot of those repeat offenders that I believe the community is being speaking about is farming, which we run into a difficulty that I have addressed with Attorney Lavery, and I believe he's looking into. I have questions I have with that.
Mike Lavery, you have anything to add?
No, I've got an ordinance that we're drafting up regulating trucks, so
Okay.
I'm gonna be working with the chief. We have something drafted up. I gotta get it over to the chief to take a look at.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know the chief, Mike, the chief and I have talked about this too, and I'll try to be quick. I'm not trying to regulate the farm trucks as in themselves, but there are 2 commercial grain farms that are hauling commercial grains to and from Lancaster and Port Newark. You know, their farming trucks are allowed. I understand that they're overweight, but their grain trucks can follow an approved truck route. It doesn't impede their right to farm. It's just that they have to follow the same trucks as somebody else in business and have to take approved truck routes. It doesn't do anything against their right to farm.
Understood.
So, okay. Abandoned properties, who has that on here?
That was mine. Again, I had Lisa give me a vacant property registration list. And the reason I wanted it, there's at least 5 or 6 other properties here in town that aren't currently on this list. And something needs to be done with the subject matter to get them on the list so that the letters and officially can be sent out to them.
Okay, so why aren't they making it to the list? What's the issue?
I don't have an answer to that. I mean, there's certainly, some of them are property, actually all of them are currently properties that are subject to property maintenance issues. You know, not necessarily in violation of zoning, but our property maintenance code. And that's just coming to effect right now.
Yeah.
Paul, are these
So
newly?
typically, Bob, the only way that I would know that they need to be registered vacant would be if, a neighbor complains about the property because of property maintenance. Then normally that
Right.
would go to Larry and Larry would notify me. And we work with either Joe or Rich. They've both helped out in the past by, making a stop and looking for information to reach out to the banks or whoever may own that property. That's usually how they get on our list.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I
not-
know I referred a couple over last year or so. So,
Right.
Paul, if you have the addresses, why don't you just give them, forward them, I guess. I don't know. I've noticed a couple, and I know I've turned it over to Joe and Lisa and them. And in fact, the one right down the street from my house, I see was mowed today for the first time.
Yeah,
So,
no, right. Well, with that being said, I mean, we've known that's been abandoned for a stretch, and that's not on this list. So,
Which property are you talking about, Paul? What number?
500, 173, I think it is.
Okay, I believe that we had sent a notice to that address. I don't have my, my whole file with me. But I believe we had sent a notice to that address and it got returned to us, like there was something deficient in the, so it's in the works. There's several that are in the works and pending.
Okay. So, Paul, if you have these addresses, why don't we just add them to the list or whatever?
we can do that. I'm in the process of doing it. The other thing I'd like to get a little clarification on as we're talking about this, and I'm not quite sure where we got astray. Property maintenance and zoning are two different things. Code
Right.
enforcement and zoning are two different things. Yes, Larry works with us on certain things, but not all of it falls into Larry's wheelhouse. This last round of property maintenance letters ended up going out weeks late because of Larry's commitment to zoning and the other things that are going on, when it would have been just as advisable to have Lisa write a property maintenance letter, because if you look in the code book, she's allowed to. She's actually the property maintenance officer in lieu of us appointing a property maintenance officer. And that process would have been turned around faster, and in which case she would have had those addresses anyway.
Okay, Lisa, you and I will talk the next couple of days. We'll come up with a policy on how we're going to do that. Okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. That good, Paul?
Yep.
Okay. Community Day. I guess everybody wants to say something here, but I guess my suggestion is I think we should just cancel it. But go ahead. Anybody else have anything to say?
Well,
No,
they're canceling the Rose Bowl parade, so I think we should be canceling this.
Yep.
I agree.
You couldn't get
Right.
rides now anyway.
Brad, what do you feel?
I don't think there's really many options. I think, what is the outdoor limit? 500 people right now for groups?
Yeah, I think it's still 500 outside. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's all the restrictions, things you have to
And
do.
you know what? If we do, it's going to be crummy. It's going to be a crummy day. So why? You know what I mean?
It's going to be too much to try to maintain with cleaning and everything. I think, unfortunately, it's a fundraiser for so many organizations, but
Okay. With that said, I make a motion that we formally notify everyone that community day is canceled. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perone?
yes.
Lisa, when you send out a notification to everybody that we're canceling, I put down that we regretfully do it. I mean, I don't do it with, but it just seems like if we do it, it's going to be a poor planning, poor job. It's just going to be, it's just not going to be there. So, just put in that we regretfully are canceling it at least, okay?
Yep.
Thanks.
I guess we'll put it on the website, Lisa, right?
Yeah.
Dogs at Thomas Third Park. Is this from me yet? I have no intention of making a motion to prohibit the dogs because I've noticed the problem, but we have not been overwhelmed with complaints that I'm aware of. So if everybody's okay with it the way it is, I'm okay with it. But
Nope, I'm good. Just something that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out. That's all.
That's it.
yeah,
I
Anybody
think
else?
we need to do something, put more signs or something up.
Well,
When I walk, they're pooping right there and you gotta be careful from stepping in it. I don't like it. I don't,
yeah. Well,
they're not abiding by even picking it up. And somebody the other day picked it up and threw the bag on the lawn. Well, like, that's not,
Well, I agree with you, because when I was walking there a lot, it did get on my nerve. I don't walk there anymore, so. But we're not getting overwhelmed with complaints, so I don't, you want to make a motion that we ban? I mean, I don't.
Well, what
do you
happened?
want to do? I don't have.
In the last meeting, we talked about putting signs up and we talked about more of the stations. Where did that end up going? Did
I
Joe
think
ever put up any more stations?
I put one up, and then somebody stopped me and said they still should have another one in another area, so.
How
I
many
guess
more
we will
stations?
hire somebody to go.
How
I
many?
had one station I added.
You added one.
Yeah, that's all we had in stock that was left over there. And I was looking up into the signs and stuff, and I just got to see, I think there is a code and a penalty sign. I was looking at signs, and I remember we were talking about it. I just didn't get the information out.
All right.
Somebody did already say to me, oh, you should have another one here. And this is my feeling. You have a dog, you know it's going to go to the bathroom. You really shouldn't have to provide anything.
I agree.
You come with a bag, you pick it up, you take it home with you. I mean, that in the real world, that's what it should be. I'm
Right.
tired of dog owners saying, you should make it more convenient. You should do this, you should do that. It's your dog. You're responsible for it. But that's not the approach most people take.
Yeah, right,
so.
right. Well, it might be nice to start a whisper campaign saying that if it continues, that the town might regulate dogs. And if we made that loud enough and strong enough, maybe there'd be an impact there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bob was stating that probably a lot of people from out of town, though.
Well,
No.
I think 90% of the dogs there are from people from the other towns. That's my opinion. I mean, I watched it a lot during this couple of months when I was there, and all those dogs are not from Greenwich. Either that, or we should have around 10,000 dog licenses this year.
Well, we should have way more than the 162 we have.
Yeah. Sometimes 62 dogs there in a day. So, okay, well, enough said there. COVID-19 date to reopen to the public. I still don't think we should completely open to the public, but I think we should be doing it by appointment by now, Lisa. But I think you've been accommodating that pretty much, haven't you?
We have.
And as far as the meeting, well, anybody have anything to suggest or they want to add about opening the building to the public? I mean, every time you get close and it's something to get a little bit of a relapse. So I know from talking on meetings with other mayors and stuff, I don't think many places are open completely again, but they are doing by appointment, and we've been kind of doing that all along. So, anybody have
I
any
think
comments?
my appointment's working. That's pretty A-okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with that,
The
too.
next thing is, I know I had talked to everybody. Well, I didn't talk to. I asked Lisa to do a poll about going back live for the meetings. And I talked about it. I never got back to people because I didn't change anything, and I apologize for that. I know a couple people were confused. I backed off of it because right after we started talking, that's when they started backing off on opening the restaurants again. Other states started putting on quarantine. It seemed like things were going the opposite direction. And there's also issues, and I asked Mike Lavery to join in here in a minute. From talking to other mayors and stuff, there are issues on how many people you can allow in the building. So we might have to do, if we were going to go live, we'd have to do live and Zoom to give people the opportunity to be able to talk. That gets difficult for Lisa to run the recording, take notes in person. We have to social distance. By the time we social distance, we're probably going to have room for like 6 people. Well, Joe Mexi, I think, knows the number. I just think if we're going to have to do both, we're easier just to do it virtual the way we're doing it than to try to do it that way. I'd love to do it in person because I find this frustrating. I find it, sometimes I feel like, we're running it where people they actually have more access this way than they did before, but for some reason I felt better voting on things in public than on here, but that's just me. But I don't see us going to a live meeting even in August yet. And by then, let's see where we're at and we can evaluate it. But I'm certainly open to suggestions, what you care about, what your opinion is, but I know a lot of people, when I was talking about going live, were talking about going live and they didn't do it. And Mike Lavery, if you want to join in, there are some liability issues I've been hearing from other municipalities. If you're requiring employees to attend the meetings and something happens, they could make a, they can complain about, well, if they get sick, they could sue us, I guess. But Mike, you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, the problem is this, there's some towns that have gone live, but because of social distancing, even municipalities that have large meeting rooms with the social distancing and everything else, by the time you get your number, and then you include the committee members and your employees and everything else, it doesn't leave a lot of room. So then if people show up and so I guess my point is, if you're going to have a live meeting, you're still going to have a Zoom meeting, because if somebody shows up that exceeds the limit, you can't bar, it's a public meeting. So then do you figure out how far away they live from the municipal building and then delay the start of the meeting for 15 minutes so that they can get to their house so that they can participate in the meeting? So it's just difficult. The other thing is, as elected officials, you're appearing at the meeting voluntarily, but the clerk has to be there because it's by statute, clerks have to be at all meetings. And you have other employees that are there too that aren't there voluntarily that have to be there. And then, God forbid, a member of the public comes and claims that they got COVID from the municipal, and I don't know how you would prove that, but it's just, there's no easy way to do it. And again, I do know some towns that are doing the live meetings, but they also still have to do the Zoom meetings. So you're not really accomplishing a lot, I guess. And again, you're also exposing employees that have to be at the town meetings to these type of things. So I think the wise thing to do is if you're going to have to do Zoom, you might as well have the whole thing be Zoom, because it just makes it easier. There's less chances of things going wrong.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I haven't seen us being inhibited in any, like, we're able to have our executive, we're able to all voice our opinion, we're able to do town business. I know Bob doesn't like it, but I haven't seen anything that has restricted me from doing what we
I
normally
miss
do.
seeing you in person, Frank.
I missed that. What'd you say?
I said I miss seeing you in person.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't noticed a change in performing our duties right now by using Zoom.
Well, I'm going to slightly disagree, and it's only slightly. I have left things off of the agenda just to try to do business and not have some of these long open conversations. Like, I really loaded this up tonight, thought that we were going to be live and having these conversations while we were all together.
But why can't we have the conversation now? I mean, the issue.
It's kind of work tonight. It's been, in general, it's been pretty frustrating for me. But let's just take the earlier on too with John Drill. The technical problem cost him 12 minutes, and now something's getting pushed off till next month again. So it's not a perfect solution. In person and the phone works better. But again, if we decide, I would prefer this live. I get more out. I can talk about more things freely. But tonight there was a lot covered tonight.
So is everybody in agreement? Next month, we'll do it this way virtually, and we'll evaluate it each month before we make a decision. Everybody okay with that?
So just to clarify, there really wasn't a technical issue. It's just that we were just waiting on Bob. The meeting. No, Bob was the issue. The executive session started as planned. John joined as planned.
Issue, Frank?
What's that? Bob's fault. I'm trying to say it was Bob's fault, but that's okay.
So anyway, are we all in agreement? Next month, we'll do it by Zoom again, and we'll evaluate it monthly, but we're trying to go live as soon as we can. We all okay with that, or what?
Yeah, okay with that.
Brad, did you fall asleep? I haven't heard you nod or nothing in a while.
I'm nodding my head. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I think that the meetings are more effective in person.
I do too.
But understanding, what Mike Lavery said, all different concerns. I mean, as far as seating goes, I don't know what kind of numbers we could allow the public to be there. I mean, without knowing that, it's hard to say. So I don't know if we have that number, but it would be good to know if we we could figure out how much.
Just keep in mind, you'd have to work out a lot of things, a lot of things. We couldn't sit next to each other on the dais there. We couldn't do that. You might want to take people's temperature coming in. You're gonna have to go every other row or something in the audience. There's a lot of things. You might have to put up plexiglass between the town committee people or whoever. You know, there's a lot of things that you're gonna have to put some money into it. That's for sure. For what?
How many people are you planning? We get 2 or 3.
No, but it doesn't matter. You could have 2 people, but you can't allow 2 people to sit next to each other. You know?
Well, Joe has already taped off the municipal building, the office room for the meeting room for where you couldn't sit. He did that in anticipation of us going live, you know, probably a couple of weeks ago.
That's what I'm saying. I saw that when I was there, and like I said, I don't know what number of public we could allow in and accommodate based.
How many is that?
So my whole thing is, you know, listen, I'm fine doing the Zoom. I think it's more effective live, but just be aware. I mean, this thing could go all through 21. You know, so are we going to do Zoom perpetually?
But this way, I have, you know, I'm a diabetic, so I'm a high risk. And if I see that there's a lot of COVID out there, I'm going to have to be accommodated some other way. I'm not going to risk.
Yeah,
myself.
I mean, I think that's why we have it on, you can dial in, like we've done in the past when someone can't make a
That's
meeting.
fine. I'm okay with that. You know, if that's what you want to do.
I don't know what I want to do. I'm just, I guess at some point, you know,
Brad, long term, you're still liaison to the school. I mean, I wonder if the school would let us use their all-purpose room for our meetings if we really got to that point where we could social distance and it would work. But I think they're still Zooming. I don't think they're nursing yet, are they? As far as I know, well, the rep is on. Vicky's
nodding her head, yes.
Yeah. They are live or they're Zooming?
no, they're Zoomed.
Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, mostly everybody's still Zooming. And you know, you do have to have some concern. And I'm older, so I guess I could say this. We do have older people who do participate in our meetings, and they're at risk. So
That's true.
I think you have to accommodate that somewhat too, you know. So it's not just Frank, he disclosed his issue, and you know, I'm actually in the danger zone with over 60, they're saying 65, 60. So I think we do have to take into consideration there are people who participate and pay attention who are in an area where they may be concerned about going, and you don't want to shut them out. So I think you'd be forced to have to do both anyway to accommodate the public.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just think, you know, it's July, and you know, this is what we started this in
March.
How about this? How about we don't be at the forefront? Why don't we see other towns start to open up? Why don't we take a look to see, you know, where other towns stand? Because as Mike is stating, most towns aren't opening up yet.
The township I work for, they've been meeting and doing Zoom for the public the whole time. They've not, the committee and the professionals have not ever done Zoom. They've always met at the courtroom and they do Zoom for the public.
Do they have a bigger court? Do they have a bigger meeting room, Lillian? Or-
Oh, much bigger, yes.
Yeah, that's
And a
one-
bigger dais.
We even
No.
brought up maybe meeting at the pavilion at Township Stewart Park. Well, it's warm out, you know?
Can we have alcohol at it?
No.
I demand it. You know, it's a steroid.
And just for me to weigh in one more time here, and again, you know, Frank has disclosed, and I have multiple red flag issues as far as COVID's concerned. Overweight, over 60, high blood pressure, respiratory issues, and such like that. And
I got multiple.
I'm still advocating, you know, I would like to do this live. And I don't know if you all can see in my picture and everything, I'm sitting at a cubicle in my stock room at my wife's business to be able to do this because I need her computer to do Zoom, and I need my computer to do all the paperwork that Lisa's sending us through. You know, I'm not savvy enough to get it all on one. So I'm set up here. So I'm sitting on a folding chair right now at 923. You know, and that easy chair at the municipal building is much softer. But anyway,
I guess my stance is, I don't mind if you have the meeting open, as long as you provide the ability for those who don't want to be there to also access. That's all. So I'm not against, you opening up the meeting room. I don't know if I would participate or not. I'd have to see.
I think that the thing we just have to think about is that if this, COVID's not going away anytime soon. It's going to be with us all the rest of the year, all of next year. So at some point, you have to kind of decide on a long-term plan. That's basically it. It's
Maybe we'll look into where we can go live, like Lillian said, with the professionals and everything, and have it zoomed there. Everybody else, we just have to figure out how to set up cameras and everything to do that.
Because it is long-term. And I know everyone's like, oh, it's going to go away. It's not going away.
No.
No, it isn't.
Okay. Firehouse, old business. We'll put that on.
we need to chat with that in we are going back into executive for a short time.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, that needs to have a conversation there.
Okay. Historical Commission resignation. Lillian, you want to talk anything about that, or we just want to accept it with regret?
I'd like to accept it with regret. Not sure who would be interested in taking her place, but she's been there for quite a while, and she needs to move on for other reasons. So I think we should accept it with regret.
Okay, so that's a motion, right? I'll second it. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank her for her service.
Okay.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perone?
Yes.
We're going to do public comment before we go to the executive session.
Yes.
So we get to talk. So I'll make a motion. We open a public comment in a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays, okay. Frank, can you open it up, please?
Yep, I did. Everybody's mic
I have
is.
a couple of questions. There was a couple of things I wanted to comment on. When you talked about the due date to reopen to the public, and you suggested that it would be by appointment only to start, but you never set a date. Is there a date specifically for that?
Well, I think we've kind of been doing it all along, but maybe we should just put it on the website. Everything has to go on the website. If somebody's going to be on this website, no one knows where to find anything. But yeah, at least we can pretty much start that immediately, right?
Yeah, we have been doing it. Anybody that has been calling in and requesting to either make a payment or see somebody in person, we've been.
Okay. Also, the old school, the bid that you accepted, you said they still have to, whatever they do with the property has to be in accordance with the zoning. What is the zoning down there? What's it zoned for?
Isn't it municipal zoning?
Yeah, it's that new zone we created, the MG zone, the municipal. So it allows for municipal facilities and other other facilities.
We'll have to get a variance.
They would have to work with the township to try to get a rezone. That's what we're thinking, right?
They'd have to go to the planning board for whatever changes they want to do.
No, it would be us, wouldn't it, Mike Lavery? If it's a rezone, it would be the town committee.
Well, it'd be both. So it could either start at the land use board or at the township committee. Either way, you guys would ultimately pass the ordinance, but either one could start it. But if we were going to do it, then we'd have to obviously send it down to the land use board for their 30-day review.
Do you anticipate them asking for it to be rezoned? Whoever's purchasing it?
Yeah.
They would have to.
So, yeah.
They would have to.
I mean, it's most likely use is going to be for apartments.
Yeah, if there's, everybody that's looked at that building for years now, it's been 8 apartments. I mean, there's been some modifications along the way. 8 apartments would not need a use variance. There would still need to be a site plan.
I mean, it would need a rezone though, right?
Well, no, why would they need to be?
It's just, you said it was
It was-
municipal zoning.
When a couple of years ago, when we declared an area in need of redevelopment and so forth,
Yeah.
it's all set up for that use. Now, if they want to diverge and they want to do something on, let's say, office on the first floor, residential up top, something like that, then obviously we'll have to evaluate. But the common use that everybody believes is conforming.
But wasn't it the use that was originally discussed was senior?
We're getting too far in the weeds here. Vicky, you have any other questions?
Yeah, just one other question. Going back to the alcohol permit for the park. I know you decided to can that for now, but my question is about the permit. Would that apply, like Paul said, when he did his daughter's wedding, if it's an individual that wants to rent the pavilion, say for a birthday party, and they wanted to have alcohol, they would also have to have proof of insurance? Or is that just like for a big event?
Oh, that's what we're going to discuss and find out for the next meeting on how we're going to handle the certificate for insurance. But my suspicion is everyone will have to show proof of a certificate of insurance.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware that, as an individual, that you could get insurance for a party that you're having in the park.
Policy for your home? You can get that.
Oh, you would, okay. You just have
You
use
have
that insurance.
umbrella
okay.
policy. Just call your insurance agency and need a certificate and they would give it to you. It's not hard to get.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying they'd have to purchase a specific insurance just for that. Okay, I understand.
Okay?
That was it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for participating every week. You're one of our few followers.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up to you guys, because you were talking about going forward with the virtual meetings. On the school board, one of the things that we're discussing now is coming up with a policy of how to go forward in the future, given this pandemic could last who knows how long. So we're establishing a policy because some of the things in the virtual meetings have worked better for us and some things have not. So we're trying to figure out as well if going forward we'll kind of do both, or if we will allow for exceptions, because even when this is over, unlike you guys, we've never had anybody call in on the phone or, do a Zoom meeting while it was going on. One of the board members, we've never done that in the past, and I know you have. So that's one of the things that we're considering now as well.
Okay. Well, thanks. If you come up with any good ideas, let us know, okay?
Yeah. All righty. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Anybody else, Frank?
We got Bill and Doris are the only other ones if they have anything.
Other than, I agree, I'm gonna sit the meetings out with Frank on this COVID stuff. I counsel caution.
I was thinking of you, Bill.
Yeah. We heard the older citizen part.
Yeah.
I'm older, so I say I could say.
We knew. We're in your ballpark.
I resemble that remark. Good night, gentlemen.
I was thinking of both of you, but we're glad to have you on all the time. We miss seeing you, though, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay, that it then?
That's it.
Okay, thanks. I'll make a motion to close public comment. Anybody want a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Hey,
No, no.
Bob, before we go in,
Yeah.
I want clarification on what we voted for before, because Mike now has me confused.
What's that?
Because I assumed that they would have to come to us for a zoning change, and now Mike is saying they don't, as long as they build apartments.
No, that's not, I'm sorry, Frank.
You two have this discussion tomorrow on the phone?
I think it's important because we made a vote. We made a vote to accept the bid. I want to make sure we understand what we accepted.
Well, it's my understanding you accepted the high bid, and the provision of the bid was that they had to comply with zoning, right?
So my question is, what's the zone, with the zoning, I thought it was municipal, now you're telling me apartments are already allowed.
Residential is allowed. I'm pretty certain, Frank.
That was not my understanding. I wouldn't have voted for it yet until I was sure, because I'm not okay with regular apartments. I'm okay with senior apartments, but I'm not okay with regular apartments. And that was not my understanding. My understanding was municipal zoning only right now, and we would have to work with them to do a zoning change.
Do you remember 2 years ago, maybe plus minus, we did that analysis, Beth did it, that area needed redevelopment? Remember? For that building?
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, development. Yes.
Yeah, included in that was uses that would be palatable, appropriate, and so forth. And I'm sure that a residential,
zoning, right? There's no zoning. How would that work? We still have to, Mike, maybe you can weigh in. What we have to do, like, what do we have to pass a zoning change?
Well, it's subject to whatever zoning's there now. So I don't understand.
That's where there's this gray area. I don't think I'm too sure.
We'd have to take a look, and I don't have my code book.
Well, it's in a residential zone. I don't know if that particular piece has some municipal overlay.
It's in a municipal zone.
All right, so we already passed the ordinance last year to make it an area in need of redevelopment.
And I don't think we had. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we have, and accept the bid doesn't lock us into accepting their proposal. They have to propose a site plan. We're going to get a chance to review it. There's nothing.
But there's certain things you cannot reject if it conforms. So that's what we need to know.
Yeah, but why, Frank? Why would we be in a position that we wouldn't want to accept something that conforms?
Yeah,
it already conforms.
Because I'm okay with senior housing there. I'm not okay with regular apartments. That's me. Maybe everybody else is, and that's fine.
You want to leave it abandoned if they want to.
Listen, that's just my opinion. If everybody else feels okay with regular apartments, then that's.
You want to leave it abandoned if they want to put regular apartments? So if they come and say, we need regular apartments, you're going to say, leave it abandoned?
Yeah, I wouldn't vote for it. But that's
Mike,
me. I mean, I don't know what everybody else stand on it.
Mike Finelli, I thought though, I thought it was age restricted that they zoned it for, not for just any apartments, to tell you the truth.
That's my understanding. This is why I'm a little concerned. That's not what I voted for right now.
You know what? If you're talking about what happened with the vote, that's another story. I mean, this is an easy look-see tomorrow morning to just check the code to see exactly what it says.
Like, what can I do? I mean, I voted something. Is there any recourse for me personally?
You don't want to accept the bid?
Didn't I already answered that question, didn't I? Yeah. I don't want to accept the bid if we are forced to allow regular apartments.
Why do you think we're going to be forced to allow? The zoning is what the zoning is that you approved, Frank, undoubtedly.
Right, as Bob said, we thought it was for senior housing only, senior apartments only.
It will be that though.
I'm just going on record. I've never heard that it was only limited to senior apartments. We discussed about making this an area in need of development. We approved it. We discussed it at length. We approved it because we had the other guy who was interested in it, and that's why we did it. And then he never came through, and we said it's going up for auction.
But the other guy was interested in it, and we were working. You
want to change your vote to no, Mike? Can Frank change his vote to no so we can move on?
No.
And by the way, we bid this thing out subject to certain restrictions, and you can't. I mean, I guess in principle you could vote no, but you couldn't tell them that you're not going to get sell the property to them if they meet all of the conditions. Right. And I think one of the things was, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but under the redevelopment, they'd have to submit a plan under the redevelopment to get whatever they wanted.
Absolutely, of course.
So, Frank, even though it's in a redevelopment zone, they're still going to have to come with a redevelopment plan if they intend to avail themselves of that. And that plan could be and the only plan you may accept is age-restricted apartments, or maybe something else. But any plan that they bring, because look, everybody wants to get the benefit of a pilot. They're going to have to come to town and say, this is our
All right,
proposal. And you'll be
that's
free to.
fine, because the way I understood it, if they conform zoning, and Mike is saying it's already zoned for apartments, then we would have to accept. But you're saying no, so I'll go with you.
My recollection is we agreed to put it in the redevelopment zone, but somebody's got to come in with a proposal and say, this is what I propose, and then they're going to try to come in for a pilot, and you guys are going to have to accept it. The zoning is whatever the zoning is now. I don't know. Maybe it's zoned for apartments. I don't know that it is, but.
Was there ever an official zone change, Mike, other than the redevelopment plan?
No.
I don't think we changed the zone. I just
No,
think
that's why I was confused when you said that. And what takes precedence, the redevelopment plan or the actual zoning?
well, the redevelopment plan would have to be, first of all, the redevelopment plan would have to be approved by you and the land use board. So it's not like a easy process. And you guys would have to agree on what the zone change would be.
Well, we already voted on the
You want to put
redevelopment.
apartments in there or whatever, you guys would have to say that that's okay.
All right.
Whether it's age
Frank, I think I understand your concern here. I think you have plenty of protection coming up down the road that you're going to have a shot at reviewing and approving whatever they want to do. I mean,
So my
apartment.
one question, I don't want to extend it anymore.
That's
but
fine.
The one question is this: if the township decided, or the planning board, or whoever, if there was a majority of people deciding they do not want regular apartments, can we prevent regular apartments? That's my question.
If it's not already zoned for that, and again, if it's a municipal zone, I'd find it hard to believe that it's zoned for that. But if it's not already zoned for it, the answer is yes, you could prevent it.
All right, so that was my understanding, and then Mike got me confused when he said it's allowed. So, all right, then that's fine.
Okay. I make a motion to go into executive session. Anybody wants?
At the same time, I don't want anyone, this is a public meeting, and the person who's bidding on this wants to put apartments in to think that they're not going to get it. There's majority of people who are going to be okay with apartments.
Well, I don't know. We don't know that. I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for a majority of anybody.
I'm totally for apartments.
All right.
I don't want to see that
Your
building
prerogative.
for another 25 years.
Okay.
I just don't want the message. I don't want the person who's buying this to get the impression that they're not going to be able to do what they want to do with it. I mean, that's a bad message to send after they just bid on this thing.
Well, you're assuming they want to put regular apartments in, so.
I'm pretty sure they want to put regular apartments in. I'm not
I don't know.
positive.
Where's everybody else stand on this? Is that what your understanding was?
I honestly agree with Brad. I thought it was for anything if they wanted to come in with regular apartments. But I didn't, I mean, you guys discussed it with that builder prior to me, so I don't know what was ever discussed. But I thought by selling the building, they just had to come in with something that conformed with what our rules and regulations were for the property. And if they were coming in with apartments, I just assumed as well that that would be okay.
I guess my question is, if you had the choice, or if you had the ability to decide what you would allow, regular apartments or senior apartments, what would be your preference?
I'm okay with either.
Okay.
Or what if it's a regular apartments or the guy walks away?
I would want him to get his regular apartment. I'd like us to sell the property and have that property
Yeah,
developed.
well, I'm making a motion. We go into executive session. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll be back out to adjourn, but those who want to go to sleep, enjoy.